Let me see. Are we live? Yes, yes, yes. We are finally live and outside at the first ever I Choose Me Healing Ministry. Okay, where we come here every Sunday. I'm hoping that y'all can hear me. Does anybody have? Ooh, I got this earpiece on. I'm hoping that is allowing my sound to travel better. Can you go in the car, honey, and see if you can hear me clear? Because I'm going through my earpiece, and I'm on everything. So yeah, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. But I don't know if y'all can hear me yet before I get to talking. You can hear me good? Oh, okay, perfect. So we up and running. The sound is up and running. First of all, I just want to welcome everybody to I Choose Me Healing Ministry. My name is Precious Paulin. I am Apostle Precious Paulin, better known as affectionately known as the Soul Stage Doctor. And basically, what that means is I am the mind, wisdom, dream revitalizer, right? And so at the end of the day, we all come with a purpose, with an intention, with the idea about who we are and whose we are. And what it's about is about getting into position to dream again, right? To let go of the things that we cannot change in order to be who God called us to be. So every Sunday, I'm going to show up here with a message. I don't even know what the message is because I decided I'm just going to allow whoever's in the room, whoever's in the building, to open up the Bible, and wherever we end up, I feel like that'll be the word for from God to us, for us. What this whole ministry is all about is realizing that the commandment was to love thy neighbor as thyself, right? That was the second and most essential commandment. And it's us realizing what it means to love thyself first, what it means to actually choose us, what it means to really celebrate the things that has gotten us to where we are today in order to become who God called us to be. And so I want to spend this time just to say, thank you for showing up. I'm sure many of you guys will catch the replay. I will not be before you long. I want to get it in and want to get it out. And so at this time, I'm going to see who wants to flip open the book today. So I have my this is the Learning Bible. So when it's those broken down English that we can't understand, we got the actual King James version right here, which is the one that many people do not understand. So I have both. So we have both perspectives in the building. I just wanted y'all to realize that when we talk about great is he that is in me than he that is in the world, it is really talking about what it means to understand who you are and how no matter what you've been through or what you experience, it doesn't take away from your value. Matter of fact, it actually adds to your worth, understanding that you are worthy, that you are worth the yes. And so, what y'all gonna flip this open? So I'm out of the frame. I'm sure y'all can hear me. I'm not gonna move this camera around. I don't want to mess nothing up. Oh, it just looked like I appeared. So we're gonna flip this open and we're gonna find out what quick message God will have for us today and what that looks like. Ecclesiastic 12 and 8. You want to read it out loud? Let me see. So right here, 12. Okay. So we got Ecclesiastic 12 and is starting on verse, what was it? Chapter 12, verse 8. So what it says here is fear God and keep his commands. So we're starting at, remember, Ecclesiastics 12 and 8. It says, vanity of vanity, says the preacher. All is vanity. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yea, he gave good heed and sought out and set in order many proverbs. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even words of truth. The words of the wise are as gold and as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies which are given from one shepherd. And further, by these, my son, be admonished, of making many books. There is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandment. Come on now. For this is the whole duty of man. And I love that she came to fear God and keep his commandment, because it just goes into what I wanted actually us to talk about today, which is what is the most important commandment, right? Which is leads us right into what I choose me is all about. Because if you go and read what it says at the beginning, we go through what it is to follow his commandment. And the first one was to love God with all thy heart and soul. And the second one was to love thy neighbor as you first love you thyself. And so we're going to fear God and keep his commandment. He needs us to understand the authority of what it means to be given a special God piece, right? And so if also great is he that is in me. Come on now, that came up too. Then he that is in the world, and he commands us to love God with all thy heart and soul first, and then to love our neighbor as we first love ourselves, then all of that goes under the commandment of what it means to have self-love, what it means to actually celebrate the part of you that is the most amazing part. It is the perfect piece, right? I often like to tell people that God is so powerful that he couldn't give all of him to one of us, so he gave a piece of him to each of us, and I call that a God piece. And so if the commandment is to love thyself and love thy God with all that heart, soul, and spirit, and then he says to fear and be intentional with keeping his commands in ideal and in order, what does it seem or what does it look like to love yourself? Does it look like to forgive yourself? What does it look like to forgive others in order to love yourself more, right? Because sometimes we will sacrifice our feelings for other people. Sometimes we will put other people before our own needs, our own desires, right? Which is forfeiting what the word says, right? Because the word says to love God. And if great as he is in me than he that is in the world, that means to love self. That means to see self. That means to honor self, right? Because when I honor me, I'm honoring God. When I'm honoring me, I'm honoring my neighbors, right? Because then I'm taking care of the most precious prized possession that God has given us, which is our soul, which is our minds, which are our thoughts. And we are commanded to be in control of our thoughts. We are commanded to seize the ideas or the pains that have gotten us stuck and paralyzed in how we operate, right? Because fear has been known to be false evidence appearing real, right? And what I see fear as is forget, escaping, and rise, right? And so it's hard to see ourselves so powerful, right? Sometimes we're told, like, listen, there's nothing more powerful than God. And that is so true. But the most powerful thing is the God that dwells in you, because then it gives you the power to see yourself, to love yourself, to show up in whatever magnitude that you were created to be, because God says also that I am that I am. So you got to start asking yourself, what is the am that is a part of my story? What are the things that I have endured in life that got me feeling like I should be seeing myself worthy enough to have a conversation, worthy enough to be the evidence for God, that even in my brokenness, I showed up, which is what makes you so perfect, right? It's because you go through the imperfect parts of life and you still find yourself worthy, because God said, above all these things, I am that I am. He also sent us down here to be the agreement, right? The impact is the agreement heaven had with earth. That means that he wanted to offload different pieces and parts of himself in each of us so that we could come here and be the living testimony, be the actual next part of the story. And so when we think about it, he said, vanity of vanities, said the preacher. What it is to be vanity. Right now, we live in a world where vanity is all around us, because we're more concerned with what we have than who we are. We're more concerned than where we're going than what we're doing. We're more concerned than who gave to you than what you gave to somebody else, right? Because if we get out of the vanity, then we get to embrace the sanity. And the sanity is that I still got my whole mind after that situation. The sanity is that I still see power in my story, even though I've been hurt, even though I've been neglected, even though I've been abandoned, even though I've been abused, right? Whatever your story looks like, it's about you still understanding that the vanity in it is not seeing the beauty of what it cost you, not realizing what it takes to actually increase your territory. It takes study, it takes process, right? Many of us want to show up in a promise, but not enough of us wants to process through it, right? And so being able to understand that no matter what it is that you're going through being able to understand that much study is in the weariness of the flesh. That's a powerful word, right? Because we get tired. The flesh gets tired. And that's why God says to renew your mind daily. Because I know your body is tired, but if you can tell your body something new to do, then the body came to work for you, right? God said, I wrapped you up in flesh so that you can be able to have the thoughts of me, right? Have the belief system of me. That's why he said, greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. That's why he said the commandment is to love him first and then yourself in order to love your neighbor in that order. So when I think about that, I say the weariness of the flesh is me being confused that I'm tired. When what's tired is probably your mindset. Because God said, if you can renew your mind, then I can inspire you to do something new. If you can renew your mind, I can give you a pep in your step. If you can renew your mind, I can allow you to see that it all was for you, that I was processing you in those moments, that I'm commanding you to love you because God said, above all these things, love is the greatest, right? Of all the things that He gave us, love is the greatest of all. And so the thing about love is it takes a certain amount of patience. And in that patience, that's when you get that weariness, right? So when you are feeling weary in the flesh, imagine if you become patient with yourself. Imagine if you started to speak life over yourself. Imagine if you told yourself, listen, I know everything that you've been through, self, but God came to tell you that you have a power that is undeniable because you have a piece of Him in you. And the piece that is most essential is your freedom to hear and believe in yourself, the freedom to understand that even after your trials and tribulations, you are still worthy. You are commanded to come and be the evidence so that somebody else can get through those pits in their life so that they can rise to the occasion as you once have. And so when we think about what it means to love yourself, it is not selfish. Matter of fact, I say you've got to be selfish first because it allows you to fish for self to see that greater peace that God gave you, that God peace, that one of a kind design. Now that I can see that peace, now that I can embrace that peace, now I can get an action for my attraction because He gave me a body to take me on this journey. And so when I'm feeling weariness, it's because my thoughts, the electrical part of myself, right? My mindset that actually puts myself into motion for whatever it is that I'm desiring now comes into play. So when I'm taking care of me, my body no longer becomes weary in the flesh because I'm speaking life over it. Do you know how different you feel when somebody calls you with good news? Opposed to when somebody calls you with bad news, it's like a vibrational thing, right? It either gonna pick you up or bring you down. And so that's what I mean by you speaking life over yourself. You put yourself in a vibrational type of magnitude that allows you to be like, you know what, my body's not weary because I control me. I tell my body what to do, when to do, how to do it. I have dominion and power over everything that's moving. Right now, I can say point and I'm going to point. So it starts in my head, right? It starts with that. And so if I command myself to love the God piece in me with all thy heart, and then to make sure that I'm not giving to nobody else before I'm giving to me, then I'm living a holy, authentic life. I'm following the commandments. I'm operating in self love, which becomes a vibration of faith, which is freedom after insight to higher self, in order to be in position to create the life that God expects you to create, to give the things that God expects you to give, to become the peace that God expects you to become. So being able to operate in this idea and in this magnitude is how we fear God and keep His commandments, right? Because that's the only person that you should fear. You should fear God. You should fear disappointing Him. You should fear not feeling like he could trust you with the plans that he has for you, right? You should fear him feeling like you ain't committed to the assignment. You're not committed to the story that is you because you got a little weary, you got a little tired. So now you're fearing things, right? Even though he gave you power and he gave you dominion, you're stuck. Why are you stuck? Because you don't believe in your power, because you didn't take the time to start to say, well, who am I? What have I been through? What qualified me for me to tell this story? What qualified me for me to show up? God did. He did it when he said, you will be here. When he woke you up this morning and gave you breath. When he formed you, when he knew you before he formed you in your mother's womb. That was the proof that you are enough. That is the proof that you can be anything you call yourself to be, because God said, I put it in you. I set you up like that. I prepared you like that. I called you according to my will for your life. And so I know we get tired. And I know it's hard to choose ourselves sometimes, because sometimes we think it's selfish. But until you can fish for self, how can you be selfless? To be selfless is to know who you are, what you bring, what you are to bring, how you make a difference in the world. And then you operate in that entity because you took the time to figure out your piece. You took the time to figure out your story. You took the time to figure out your purpose. You took the time to turn that pain into power. You actually was intentional with God's intention for you, right? Because that's what purpose is all about. It's about what is the intention of this thing? What is the intention of this moment? What is the intention of this person? That's what gives us purpose. And so to have self love gives God purpose with you, because now he knows that you see you. Now he knows that you will take the assignment real serious, because you're not hung up on the who. I often say the who may kill you, but the what will heal you. The what is that wisdom hat. And so when you're able to look at your what, let's see at this 13, it says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. The whole duty of man is to love thy neighbor as they first love thyself. So, how often do you run for somebody else before you stop for you? How about you tell yourself, you know what, I could wait on that dream, but I'm gonna go show up for this person's dream. How many times you tell yourself, I could wait on that healing, but I'm gonna go talk to this person and give them healing? How many times have you say, listen, my dreams can wait. I'm gonna go support you in your dreams, right? We can collectively be supporting each other at the same time, giving each other tools and different things that can enhance the quality of life. God said these are just your journey buddies. These are not your insecurity buddies. These are not your comparison buddies. These are not your, well, God can do it for you, but I don't know if he can do it for me buddies. God said he has no respect to persons. He respects the person who respects the person he created, and that is you, and that is me. And so learning to love yourself, learning to not get caught up in the pain of the story, learning to realize that the duty of you, do you know what it means to be on duty? If somebody said that cop is off duty, that means guess what? He ain't getting paid for his time. God said the duty of man, meaning you are always on the clock when you are serving in this world. That your duty is to always show up with the sun shining. Your duty is to always know that you are enough. Your duty is to celebrate every little piece that it required for you to be who you are today. Because with that is the evidence, with that is the testimony, with that is the story that somebody else gets to embrace, because you showed up, because you were transparent, because you were crystal clear, because you were vulnerable, right? When God said to be humble, he means to be humble to him, so that you don't see nobody where you're so afraid to tell your truth because you don't want them to judge you. God said, let me tell you something. I sent you to be judged, because I don't want them to judge you in your low moment. I want them to judge you in your resurrection. I want them to judge you in how you got over that thing. But if they think you just woke up like that, what are they judging? What are they believing me for? And so you get to be the evidence when you learn to love yourself through every single trial and tribulation, because you accept that you trust God and that this is his process. This is how he is processing you into who you were called to be. This is how he's processing you into the journey, into the story, into the actually being that is you. And so with the ing, It allows us to know that we are going somewhere. We are becoming something. We are actually being the example of the Almighty, right? Because we each have a special piece that is lined up just for us. So I just want to say that this 14 said, "For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. If thou know not, O thou sparest among women, go thy way forth by the footsteps of the flock and feed thy kids beside thy shepherds, the shepherd's tents." So he's actually putting us in action for our attraction. He is showing us that the fairest among us, women, go thy way forth by thy footsteps of the flock and feed thy kids beside the shepherd tent. Meaning, be intentional about what you're holding to feed somebody. I said our children are hungry, right? Their souls are hungry. They need information, they need guidance. They need a sense of love because love is patient and is kind and is all those things. And so he wants us to go and feed our children. And so we can feed them with knowledge, right? Because their souls are hungry. Their souls are hungry for understanding. So he doesn't want you to get lost or get set up or miss the moment because he has prepared you by allowing you to understand that keep my commandments. Be intentional through all things, right? Be intentional through all these things that you have before you. And so I just want you guys to understand that when you remember your creator and all the things that you do, you realize that to celebrate you is to celebrate God. To love you is to love God. To treat your neighbors well is because you treated yourself well. That greater is he that is in me. He wants to know how you showing up for the God in you. How are you honoring the God in you? How are you realizing that you can do anything you put your mind to because the flesh works for you? And so when we begin to work in sync, right? When the mind and the body comes together, then we become the vessel in which God can use in order to get his greatest commandment of all, which is love. The greatest things of these is love. And so when I love God and knows that he dwells in me, then it's easier for me to love me through all my learning lessons, right? Sometimes it's hard when you're going through the journey of figuring you out, but it's easier to see you and love you when you go through the process of that story of learning to love the unlovable. Then it's easier for you to actually honestly love your neighbor because you know what it took for you to be who you are. You knew the type of commitment God had to you as you were going through the mess in order for the age for you to have your message, right? So it's what you came through so that you can get somebody else out. That's how you become the evidence. But it only starts when you love you first. You can only give what's already inside, right? And so that's why I choose me. Healing is so important because in order for me to serve you, I got to serve me first. So I got to get out of my feelings and into my healing because God has some commandments that are assigned to you. And it's assigned to us all because he expects it from all of us. He released us to do his great work in the world. And it can only be done when I see myself as a great work in the world and you see yourself as a great work in the world. So I won't be holding you guys any longer than this. I said I was going to be keep it cute, sweet, and short. And so I want us to remember about that vanity part and realizing that to be vain is to put your all the stuff you put at a disadvantage, right? And so it's not about being vain, it's about accepting the gain. And the gain is that the beauty from ashes is what you should be celebrating, not what you look like, but who you are because of what you've been through and how you never gave up on yourself, how you kept on getting up, how you kept on choosing you, how you kept on trusting that God had a will for your life and you were willing to show up in the story that is you. And so I want you to know that I choose me hashtag no more excuses. It is your assignment. It is your responsibility. It is your work in the world. Why? Because when you show up and you do the things that you came to do and everybody puts on and do the things that they came to do, there'll be nothing left to do. So it starts with you, it ends with you, and the relay race gets to keep on going because of you. So it's not in spite of what you've been through, it's because of what you've been through that you are worthy. You are worth the yes. And you get to be here. Grace expects testimonies. And so I want you to remember that it starts and ends with the love that you have for God, then the love that you have for yourself, and then you have extra for everybody else because you have studied to show thyself approved to understand what it really means to love. The greatest of this is love, and greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. It's all been said over and over and over again. And so I want to leave you guys with this last message and this last prayer is to surrender. Surrender to the things that are greater than you. Honor the part that is you. Accept Jesus, Yeshua, as your Lord and Savior, so that you can forgive yourself first in order to know that you are worth the price of admission, right? You already here and we already living this life. But I want you to know that I choose me is going VIP, is getting a seat at God's feet because He said, I already gave you general admission. But if you want to sit at the head of the table, if you want to sit at my feet, I need you to clock into me more. I need you to serve you more in order to serve me more. Because when you see you, when you see the prized possession that I have in you, then oh my God, you show up with a different spunk, a different attitude, and a whole new level of gratitude for what you've been through because you understand it is through those things that you were able to become whole. It was through those things that you were able to get your message in order for you to get to the level where somebody else can now find their switch. And so I just want to thank you guys for showing up. I want you to take the time to love on yourself this whole week, to get that quiet time you're with yourself 24/7. So, because of that, take 10 minutes to figure out how you're feeling. Take 10 minutes in front of the mirror to say, I love you. I celebrate you. I see you. I'm proud of you. God's not done with you yet, right? He's still working on me. He's still working on you. So, show up in the trust part of your faith, right? That trust part of your faith means I believe without a shadow of doubt that God is still working on me. And because He's working on me, in me, through me, now it's my job to pay attention, to take notes so that I can show up in the fullness and the wholeness that I was created to be. Did anybody want to say anything before I close out? No, ma'am? No, sir? No ham, no turkey. Okay. Well, without further ado, I just want to remind you that it's a relay race and somebody is relying on you to turn your heartbeat into a soul beat in order to leave your soul print. Because the fingerprint tells us what you did wrong in this world, but the soul print it tells us what you did right. And what God did right is you. So I want you to understand that I Choose Me Healing Ministry is a place where there are no walls, floors, or ceilings to what God can do through you when you choose you. The doors of the soul are now open. Find a way back to you so that God can use you for who He called you to be. You have been ordained, you have been appointed, and you have also been anointed. I ask that you would tap into the very oil that you hold and you carry so that somebody else can get the overflow because you decided to show up. I choose me. Hashtag no more excuses because you were born enough. Take care of those souls and remember, God loves you, but it's time for you to love you first. Bye bye.